All right. Good evening and welcome everyone to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson, and it is indeed my pleasure to be here with you tonight. We're going to be talking about the planned Nids, or National Identification System, being implemented by the government of Jamaica. But before we get into it, let me introduce to you our esteemed panel. And we have some really cool folks on the panel tonight, my NEC colleagues. I'm going to go from, let me go from the biggest dignitaries in the house first and come back down to the rest of us. So you all should know, or most of you should know, Mr. Chase Neal, who is the Vice President for the Middlesex County. Could you big up the crowd for us, Mr. Neal?
Hi everyone, welcome to our broadcast. I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are in the world. Big up yourself. I hope that we'll all be learning from this broadcast and that we will all come away better than we entered.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neal. And he's so politically correct, morning, evening, all of that kind of stuff, because we know Jamaicans are all over the world. Some of us in Singapore, some in Africa, some in Australia. So that's a good way to start. Let me also welcome our Vice President for the County of Surrey. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, let's do a quick social study lesson here. So we have 3 counties in Jamaica: Cornwall, Middlesex, and Surrey. Let's see the bright sparks on the group here. Who can tell us the parishes in the county of Cornwall? Who know the parishes? Anyone? Go ahead, Mr. Neal. In Cornwall, what are the parishes?
All right, there are St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, and Trelawney.
Wonderful. So on the western island, the western segment of the island, you have those 5 beautiful parishes. So big up to all Jamaicans out there in Hanover, in Westmoreland, in St. James, in Trelawney, and of course, my parish of St. Elizabeth. Now, let's welcome VP Jasmine Powell, who is over there in the county of Surrey. So, Ms. Powell, what are the parishes in your county? And go ahead and pick up the crew for us.
Yes, greetings, everyone. I'm Jasmine Powell. The counties, the parishes in the county of Surrey is Kingston, St. Andrew, Portland, and St. Thomas. And so I am originally from the parish of Kingston.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And if you notice, the county of Surrey is the only one with 4 parishes. All the other counties have 5 parishes. So the county of Middlesex, which is where Mr. Neal is from, there are 5 parishes there too. What are those parishes, Mr. Neal?
They are St. Mary, St. Anne, Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Catherine.
Okay, wonderful. So again, folks, Mr. Neal is our VP for the Middlesex County, and Ms. Powell is the VP for Surrey. We currently have a vacancy for the VP position of Cornwall. So anybody out there who want to run for VP, there's an opportunity for you. The county of Cornwall is open to any uniter who wants to raise their hands to serve in that capacity. We also have on the call, of course, our Deputy General Secretary, Ms. Claudia Barrett, who is deputizing for Mr. Green, Kaneem Green, who is not here tonight. Welcome, Ms. Barrett. Which parish are you hailing from?
I'm from St. Catherine.
St. Catherine.
Yes.
Beautiful parish of St. Catherine. I grew up in St. Catherine for a while. I was in a place called Meadowvale, close to Gregory Park. You know that area there? Okay,
I'm very close to there.
There you go. Wonderful. Wonderful. Tell us something about yourself, Ms. Barrett, with your lovely smile.
I am I'm a mother of 4 children, a single mother. Then I'm now married. So, I am a happy person. I love justice. And I love people.
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy that you're happy, and you're in the right place if you love justice, because we're all about justice around here.
Right.
Let us now look at one of our other, I will leave a deputy here tonight. I see Deputy Treasurer Miss Williams, who is also a former treasurer and long-standing member. Miss Williams, what can you tell us about yourself? Which parish are you hailing from?
I'm hailing from Manchester.
Mm-hmm. And tell us something about yourself.
Um, I'm pretty young. I think I've said my age quite a lot of times on this live or in previous lives. But like Miss Barrett said, a person who loves justice, I prefer to use the word fairness and equality. And I think this is where, all of that will pretty much grow from. This is where
Right.
the roots of all of it starts.
All right. UIC is the arbiter of justice. Eh? Wonderful. I see Miss Carrie Ann Walker on the call, who is actually our newly elected treasurer. Miss Carrie Ann Walker, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, busy trying to figure out how to set up my picture profile and studying the system a little bit. I'm doing wonderful. I'm looking forward to hearing the point of views of what's occurring with all these videos and our
Mhm.
government's decision on behalf of citizens, because it's something I'm very passionate about. I spend a lot of time tracking and keeping up to date with a lot of what's going on. So I'm excited to share and to hear everybody's point of view. And by the way, I would say that I represent the parish of Clarendon. That's where
Ah,
I was raised. So
mhm.
back in the mountains. It's been a while, but I'm still deeply connected.
Wonderful, Miss Walker. And the comment section is flooding, flooding with people over there talking. So we're gonna hear from persons in a while, but I've saved the best for the last. You might recall the story of Jesus and the wedding, and they had this, wine and all kind of stuff, and some water issue and some that kind of stuff. But in any event, what I heard that he did, and I'm not an expert on this, he turned water into wine, and the people them say, hold on a second, how come, most weddings then give out the good wine first, and then as the wedding go on, they give out the bad wine afterwards. But this thing here, I want to save the best for the last. And so tonight I have saved the best for the last, our longest serving director on the National Executive Council of the UIC, the longest serving director on the board, outside of myself and Mrs. Patterson, who we did it from the beginning. We were the ones who said, let there be light. But then she brought light to
Oh boy.
she brought some light, to the table. So welcome, Sister Janet Chukanowski with the weird last name. Tell us a little about yourself, Madam Director. And she's also our recording secretary. And she has been with us since, I believe, 2017. She has seen all the ups and the downs, and she has remained on the ship no matter what. So tonight, honor to you, Madam Chukanowski, and welcome. How are you doing today?
Wow. Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Mr. President. I hope I can live up to that high level of introduction. And just so you know, I'm from the Garden Parish of St.
All
Anne,
right.
right on top of the Dry Harbor Mountain. I tell everyone, I don't know how my grandparents got up there up in that high mountain. If you look at the map, it will say the Dry Harbor Mountain.
Mhm.
And so I love the UIC because our rights, our liberty, and our freedom, they are at stake.
All right.
And so we need to have a representation of who can get us away from that system of who wants to control us. And this is where we're at right now. So I am
Amen.
glad to be here with the UIC because this is what we stand for. We are here to protect our freedom, our rights, and our liberty.
All right, wonderful. Now you all know why I call her Sister Janet. I should both preach a sermon here tonight. So my nickname for her is Sister Janet. But let's go online and see you all go on the YouTube here. I'm seeing some very, very, whoops, where did it go here? I lost I was just seeing some wonderful conversation. Can I get back on that? Give me a second here. Let me see. Here we go. From the top. I'm seeing on the call here on the live, Juliet Chambers. She says, I miss you guys. I am old school and don't understand a lot of things with this phone or computer. I love you guys. 100, 100, hearts, hearts, blue hearts, smiley, smiley, Jamaica flag, tears of joy. So you see, when you keep yourself away from Miss Chambers for so long on Liberty TV, that y'all are crying. So thank you, Miss Chambers, for being here tonight. Really appreciate that. I see Hot Wax Promotion that put out a lovely video on UIC earlier today. Thank you, Mr. Hot Wax. You're the best. He says, welcome home and abroad. Just like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with all your contacts. So he's here promoting the UIC, reminding people to share the live, love up the thing, hit the subscription button. No bells around here, but we're going anyway. All right, we also have Blue Wave saying, bless up everyone. We have One Jamaica TV on the live. Big up One Jamaica TV. Mr. Jala and company over there. Monica Richards, she said, I love you guys with nice red heart. Turn off your thing on the other end there. Elaine Besley Anderson, one of our biggest supporters along with Miss Richards and others. Good night, Uniters. United we stand in the fight for sovereignty. Another person named Ask the Bus Driver says, good night. I see Mr. Zeret Neal, him here and there. You must be omnipresent. I see Christopher Lawrence. Big up yourself, Christopher. I see Caroline Bless. We need water in Westmoreland, Clarendon, and St. James. All right. And I see Carol Spence saying one perfect love. Good. Good to see you all. Now we're going to jump right into the meat of the matter. Now, Nids Moves Closer to Reality was the title on a recent Observer article dated March 16th, 2024, where the Prime Minister was quoted in that article in saying some things that I find to be of worthy of some analysis and some digestion, I believe. And in that article, and if I can just get over to it here, I'm going to try to see if I can get over to it. Can I share my screen? Let me try and share the screen with you so you can see the article. I hope I can. I'm not so good at this technology thing here, but I will try since it was designated to me. You can see a little thing there. Am I getting it right? Yeah. So it says,
yes, sir, we can see it.
So I'm not here trying to promote the Prime Minister. He needs no help from me for promotion. What he does need, though, is some careful scrutiny of his actions. So this article says a 9-member board is now in place to manage the affairs of the National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA, which is tasked with overseeing the implementation of the National Identification System, Nids. The Nids is an electronic form of identification which will provide a comprehensive database for capturing and storing the personal information of Jamaicans and non-nationals ordinarily residing in Jamaica. So that's the first thing. The plan here is to capture and store personal information, whatever that is. The NIRA will assume administration of the civil registration system in Jamaica, eventually replacing the Registrar General's Department, RGD, and will provide enhanced services. So again, this paragraph should tell you Jamaica already have a national registry system, and they're replacing that system with something else, which they said will provide enhanced services. So one of the things you want to look for, my friends, is what is the enhanced services that we're going to derive from NIDS. It goes on to say the Prime Minister Andrew Onus on Friday met with the newly appointed board of NIRA at Jamaica House, where he charged the members to ensure the efficient operation of the entity. Holness emphasized that the enrollment in the NIDS is voluntary and that Jamaicans will make the decision to enroll based on the value that the system will add in terms of securing identity and making citizens' interactions with government more convenient. So I'll pause there to point out a few key words. He says NIDS will be voluntary. Write that down. NIDS will be voluntary. Write that down. Underline it. Jamaicans will be free, based on what the Prime Minister is saying, to decide if they wish to enroll based on the value that the system will add. So we have to identify what value the system add that will cause people to want to enroll. Okay. And he's saying in terms of securing identity. So right now your identity might not be secure, and Nids is going to secure your identity. Underline those phrases. They're very important to know when you read these things, not to just read it so. Read in context and write down things and underline things. It goes on. The 9-member board was also charged by Wholeness to ensure the authority maintains the highest standard of trust and integrity and works for the benefit and advancement of Jamaicans. So the Prime Minister is really emphasizing some key things that you must, maintain high standard of trust. That means maybe there's already an element of distrust. A high standard of integrity, which means maybe we're already thinking they lack integrity. And work for the benefit and advancement of Jamaicans, which means maybe it could work not for the benefit and not for the advancement of the Jamaican people. So whatever they stress in politics, they must look at the opposite. So if they stress trust, you must worry that maybe there's a problem with trust. Integrity, a problem with integrity, and benefits. The Prime Minister is quoted as saying, "I am pleased to announce the launch of the National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA, tasked with overseeing the implementation of our national identification system. The establishment of this authority represents a commitment to modernization, efficiency, and safeguarding of our citizens' rights." Oh my, our Prime Minister is keen on safeguarding our rights. Nids, he continues, will serve as a cornerstone of our efforts to enhance national security. So Nids will serve as a cornerstone. You know what a cornerstone is? Those of you who read the Bible, you ever hear about the chief cornerstone that was rejected? So he's saying this is a foundational pillar, a key part of his plan to tackle the national security issues. I wonder how I'm going to do that with just an ID card. We'll find out in a little bit. Follow me carefully on this. He says it will improve access to government services, which means right now you're having problem accessing government services, and Nids will make it easier for you to access government services. Or maybe you will no longer be able to access government services without Nids. Watch me carefully here. All right. And foster socio-economic development. Now, my friends, you want to ask yourself, what is the socio-economic development that Nids will bring about? Why having an ID card, a new one, a different one from the TRN, a different one from your birth certificate, a different one from your NIS, a different one from your driver's license, a different one from your passport? Why this one now is suddenly going to foster social and economic development? We're going to learn more. It continues. The Onus administration last month signaled that it intends to complete and launch phase 1 of the Nids enrollment and issuance of national ID cards during the 24-25 financial year, which begins on April 1. Other anticipated targets for the upcoming fiscal year include launching the Registrar General's Department e-wallet and digital birth certificate, commencing the modification and upgrade of 11 post offices as enrollment sites, and completing the framework and infrastructure to facilitate the variation and authentication of identity information by accredited third parties. So there will be some third parties involved. They will be accredited, meaning the government will sanction them as a key player in your identification data and information. I wonder who they are. Additionally, the digitization of the RGD civil records will continue, as well as completion of the framework for the RGD's transition to the National Identification and Registration Authority. Nids communication strategy will also continue during the 24-25 fiscal year. Just over 1.3 billion has been allocated for Nids in the 24-25 estimates of expenditures, only for money being spent there. Members of the NIRA, along with their role areas of expertise are. So here are the people who the Prime Minister felt were worthy to sit on this committee. Members include Bishop Conrad Pitkin, CDJP, Costas Rotorum, Chairman, Georgia Hamilton, Attorney at Law, Reverend Newton Nixon, representative of the Jamaica Umbrella Group of Churches, Kendrick Steele, Information and Communication Technology and Cybersecurity, Haluk Jane CD, Financial Management and Accounting, Maria Thompson Walters, Human Resource Management and Public Administration, Sharika Hemmings, Allison, Senior Public Official in the Ministry with responsibility for the authority, and Emil Allgate, Senior Public Official in the Ministry with responsibility for national security, Gordon Christopher Record, representative of the private sector organization of Jamaica. So I'm going to stop the share there, and now I'm going to talk to my panel a bit and get their input on what's going on. So you might recall that the Prime Minister wanted to make this compulsory. This question is for you, Sister Janet, Ms. Trokanowski. You might recall that the Prime Minister wanted to make this compulsory. He wanted to make this Nids compulsory, but he was blocked by the courts. He has been trying to get this Nids system into place since his first day in office, and he picked up right where the other colonial party left off. This makes it clear that they are both in this to carry out the agenda of their colonial masters. Nids did not originate from us. Nids is an external demand, an externally funded project, which our government or the people who occupy our government, without campaigning on the matter, are now committed to forcing upon us whether we like it or not, even if it's blocked temporarily or in different ways by the court. They're committed to doing it. Both parties are committed to doing it. It's not just one. I know that right now we see the one that's there and we think that is the devil we need to get rid of, and we're going to put in the lamb and find out we have another devil. But anyways, they're both in this to carry out the agenda of their colonial masters. So don't be fooled by the apparent opposition at times. They are what you call a controlled opposition to make us think we have an alternative, but it's not an alternative. It's simply a way of ensuring that when we rebel against one and jump out of the frying pan, we jump right into the fire. So that's the plan. No matter what, one or the other will carry out their master's bidding. And remember, they both have the same local and international masters. Locally, it's the PSOJ oligarchs. Internationally, it's the global oligarchs. So what do you think about this, Ms. Trokanowski? Do you share the view I just expressed that the Prime Minister always wanted to make this compulsory, but now he's talking about voluntary, and two, they're simply pursuing their own, not their own agenda, but the agenda of their colonial masters. And whether or not the Jamaican people think that voting for one or the other is going to change the situation, it will not change as long as you're electing those who are controlled by the same central master. What are your thoughts on that, Director Janet Trokanowski?
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Patterson. And I want the people to understand that it sounds good, but there's an underlying deception. We have to remember that the whole plan of the World Economic Forum, WEF, is to have a one world government. So what the Jamaican government is trying to do right now, and it doesn't matter if it's the JLP or the PNP in power, to me, they're one and the same. They're supporting each other. Whoever is in, the other one is back, they're supporting them. So the agenda is to be on that same plane as what's happening with the colonial masters wanting to control us. That's really what's going on. Again, it gives the nice, pretty, fluffy stuff that, oh, it's to help us keep track. It's to help you stay secure. So we'll cut down on scamming. We'll make sure that you have better access to your bank account. We'll make sure that you don't have all those fees. It sounds good, but watch for the deception, because it's to continue the agenda of the colonial masters. That's all it is.
Wonderful. Well said. And, for those of us who have any Christian leaning whatsoever, you might recall, and I'm not an expert at this, but I recall one time in a Sabbath lesson, I was in a Sabbath lesson discussion, and one little sweet old lady at the back pointed out in the process, she said, the devil always come like an angel in a, what? Tell me, somebody know the phrase. Like, you come like an angel of light. The devil come like
That
an angel of light. No, so. Hmm?
he comes
Wolf
like
in
an
sheep's
angel of light.
clothing. Yes.
Sorry, say that, Mr. Neil?
The devil appears as an angel of light.
Right. So I'm sweet you up. And then, you find yourself in a serious problems. So I like the way Sister Janet clarified for us earlier that they're gonna offer you all kind of sweetie. I don't know if any of you have ever done bird hunting, but an easy way to catch bird is if you every day set a trap, put up a box and a stick on it and lean it up and tie a card and hide somewhere in the bush with the card, yeah? And just sprinkle some corn every day around the box. And the birds are gonna come and just eat the corn. And you keep moving the corn closer to the box until you put the corn onto the box. And because I'm so busy I eat the free corn, them don't realize that they're about to be trapped. They just pull the thing and bam, they're trapped. The same thing happened to us human beings because oftentimes we prefer freeness over freedom. We don't want to learn about and understand what are our rights and how to protect those rights. We'll leave it to the politician then. And we want the freeness. You want free this and free that. Well, freeness will cost you a whole lot. But now I want to ask another question of one of our esteemed panelists. I want to turn this question now to Mr. Neil. You might notice the Prime Minister is stressing that our rights will be protected, Mr. Neil. But he knows, but he knows that's not true. Our rights will be violated in the same way that he violated them with the DRMA during the so-called pandemic, remember? And in the same way that he used undated resignation letters to manipulate senators into doing his will, remember? In the same way that he wanted to make the Chief Justice attempt in order to have him under him thumb and manipulate him, in the same way that he had no respect for the rights of the people who he bulldozed and called them squatters, instead of giving them back their lands that were stolen from their ancestors, in the same way that he tried to reappoint and did reappoint the DPP to manipulate the justice system, in the same way that he has not declared his assets timely, in the same way that he's trying to hide the truth about the Integrity Commission and those of his party who were found wanting, in the same way that he incorporated offshore entities to avoid the very laws and taxes and regulations that he's imposing on us. How can we trust this man when he talk about protecting our rights, Mr. Neil? What do you think about that?
We absolutely can't trust him at all. But I would like to add to it that we cannot trust the leader of the opposition either. Because I don't know if it is that people are unaware or they choose to ignore the fact that in the the DRMA, the leader of the opposition was also proposing what the Prime Minister was proposing, was supporting him in all his statements. In demolishing the houses down by Bernard Lodge, both the opposition and the government were in agreement, beating desks the day before they went down. It was only after the public outcry that the leader of the opposition sought legal action against the government for an action that they had also sanctioned. In almost all of these things that you have mentioned, the leader of the opposition was also a part of it. Look at even the subsuming of the office of the political ombudsman under the ECJ. The opposition were in agreement to that until after the fact it was passed. The Nids thing, the opposition was in agreement with that until after the people start to cry out. So we cannot trust the Prime Minister to uphold our rights, but neither can we trust the leader of the opposition.
And as you can see, the leader of the opposition will always flip and flop.
Always, not steady in his way.
So, and he has to do that, by the way. He's not doing it by chance. Because remember, his job is to keep the people away from the UIC. His job is to keep the people away from doing anything but voting for one of the two. So they're going to sing any Sankey that they need to sing to get the people to say, oh, so we can trust Mr. Golden because, see, him not as bad as Andrew. But it's after you elect Mr. Golden now, you're going to see how bad it is. Because remember, we've been doing this now for 80 years. And this question is for you now, Ms. Powell. We have been doing this thing for 80 years. 80. 8 decades. I don't know how old you are, Ms. Powell, but I have been around for approximately 5 decades. And I remember when I was 7 years old, I was actively campaigning with my mother for Mr. Manley. I even had on my back, the back of my knapsack. I go to school and I write on the back of it, vote PNP, on the back of my knapsack. As a 7-year-old, I was in grade 2 at the time at Dunrobin Primary. So I was already somewhat politically aware. So I've been politically aware now for, let's say, at least 4 decades. And Ms. Powell, over the 4 decades, we would have seen the people get mad with the JLP and vote PNP. And we have seen the people get mad with the PNP and vote JLP, and vice versa. I remember in the first election we had was in 1944, and the people overwhelmingly voted for Mr. Bustamante and the JLP. And they gave him a second term after the first term again. And then they were very upset with Mr. Bustamante and the JLP. And so they vote him out and vote for Norman Manley and the PNP. Then they gave Mr. Norman Manley a second term. And then they get mad with Mr. Manley. And they vote out Mr. Manley. And they vote in, guess who they vote in? Mr. Buster again. And then it go on, him shifted to Sangster. And somehow Sangster get, to drop off our balcony and dead. God rest his soul. And then they put in Mr. Shearer. And Mr. Shearer was there for a while. And then bad boys started come on the scene and kick him out and take over the JLP. And then they voted Papa Eddie our leader. And, by then, Michael Manley came on. And the people were so in love with Mr. Manley. He was charismatic. He was flamboyant. He was handsome. He could talk even, Harab into buying sand. And so they were so, taken up with Mr. Manley. Of course, he was a unique case because somehow he tried to change a few things that the establishment didn't like. And so they made sure to deal with him properly from CIA to downwards. But in any event, the people then turned forcibly to Mr. Seaga and they gave him 2 terms, albeit the second term was not supported so much by the people, but the PNP withdrew. But the bottom line is this. After these 2 great gentlemen, Mr. Seaga and Mr. Michael Manley, we saw Portia Simpson Miller, we saw P.J. Patterson, we saw Bruce Golden, but somehow the people keep switching back and forth, back and forth. In your opinion, Ms. Powell, do you believe Jamaica stands any chance of ever having a safe, clean, orderly Jamaica where all of us can live, earn, and retire with dignity in a place that is truly free and independent if we keep voting for one or the other?
To answer your question, sir, I am here kind of laughing because how you put it together, it reminds me of a game, a long time game, because I'm almost around for the 80 years, Just joking.
I know.
Yes, a game, I don't know if anybody know it named Catchy Shubi.
Yes.
It's the game that those 2 parties playing, one of the ball and then, you throw it to the next one and it just going back and forth. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see that happening with those 2 because they have been here, they have not established themselves enough so as for people to trust in them and believe in them. And it don't make sense at this point. People fool themselves because it's not gonna happen.
Well said. As a matter of fact, I think the people agree with you because I've observed over the last 4 elections now, three general and 1 local. I've watched as more and more Jamaicans, first 48%, then 52%, and then 63% chose not to vote for them. And in the last election, 71%, Mr. Neil, am I getting that right? 71%? That chose not to vote for them?
Yes, sir, thereabout.
Yeah. So can you imagine 48, 52, 63, and now we're at 71% of Jamaicans saying, this now work. So the truth is, what we have are minority governments, meaning we don't have a government that truly reflects the people of Jamaica because more and more the people are rejecting them. No, the people have not voted for any third party, mind you. And people will say, but they reject the third parties. No, the people haven't rejected the third parties. The people have not seen the third parties. Because what has happened is the PSOJ oligarchs who control the money and control the media has made sure that the people don't see the UIC. Can you imagine if every morning they woke up on the news, what the people heard were Prime Minister Andrew Holness do so-and-so and say so-and-so. And opposition leader Mark Golden or the PNP says so-and-so in rebuttal. And by the way, the UIC says so-and-so. What would have happened? More and more Jamaicans would be hearing the UIC. They'll be asking about the policies and hearing they would have heard, Andrew Holness bulldozed the people them. All right. Mark said, let's take them to court. And UIC said, give them back them land. What would that do for the Jamaican people? Now they would have 3 options. Option 1, Andrew said, bulldoze the people them. Option 2, we say bulldoze them too until the people cry out. Then we say, we're going to go to court. And option 3, the UIC said, but hold on a second. But we don't own the land. This land belongs to the people of Jamaica by virtue of the fact that the colonial masters never owned it in the first place. Them thief it from the people. So the land must be returned to the people free of charge. And then no squat on the day again. But the people don't hear that on the news. They don't hear UIC is saying no squat on the day again. Let's return the land to the people. Because if that was on, guess what? We would have been the new Michael Manley. We would have been the movement that the people said, but wait a minute, this is the party of the people. So the PSOJ oligarchs and the media that they control, together with the 2 parties that they own and control, make sure that they keep the UIC out of sight and out of mind. So it's not the people that have rejected the UIC. It's once again the PSOJ oligarchs working on behalf of their colonial masters, being very effective at duping the people. Remember, and I always say this, and I hope you'll remember it and never forget it. Remember, if it wasn't for the PSOJ, which was called the plantocracy back then, the planting elites, the one who owned all the land and slaved the people, whether with low wages or not, to work that land, to make themselves wealthy, the ones who imported the goods that were the merchant class who controlled the economy, they were the ones who made sure that they funded the 2 colonial parties and got rid of Marcus Garvey. Don't forget that. If you remember that, you can't be fooled, because you're going to remember that these 2 parties were never meant to represent you. So somebody here is writing and saying, but hold on, but the only Mark Golden we have, what we're going to do it for? That's the problem. You have chosen to only have Mark Golden. You could have decided, I'm going to join, volunteer, and donate and help the UIC to find candidates and make sure that we have our party, the People's Party, fully ready to contest any election because of our party. But no, we sit down and hope and pray and wish that somehow it will just happen miraculously. It not happen miraculously. I know you have gone to many Sunday school class and many Sabbath school class, and you really believe in miracles, miracles do happen. But God wants us to do what we can do, and Him will do the rest. If we don't do our part, there's no God that can help we. Look what God did. If you're going to follow the Bible, He went down to Egypt and He says, listen, this thing look bad enough. I raise up a man. Moses, come, go do a thing. Joshua, help him out a bit. Lead them people out for me. And guess what? If the people not follow Moses and Joshua, then when dead are Israel. If the people don't get up and walk to the edge, which look impossible, the water not part. And if the water part and them not walk through it, the flood will swallow them just like those who come behind. And when you walk through it, if you not decide, say you're going to go straight to the promised land, you're going to wander for 40 years. 80 years we'll wander now. Twice the amount. Time come to stop wander. Time come to tell them, time up. You follow me? So now, let's continue with the discussion because I want you to see a video. But before I go to the video, I want to ask the next two young ladies on the panel a simple question. And the first question goes to you, Miss Williams, because you're the youngest one on the team here. Now, you're a young lady. You've been around for a few decades. And you have seen now how the UIC operates. Can you tell the people why they should have confidence in the UIC to stand up for them against Nids in the same way that we stood up for them against COVID? Remember in COVID, you know, when COVID happened, everybody run go hide. All of the talkers on radio and television, all of the big mouth them went silent. They couldn't stand up because they want to keep their ratings, they want to keep their slots on the radio station, their slots on the TV. All the civil society groups went quiet because they don't want to be censored, they don't want to be implicated. So they went go hide. And the only movement which stood up for the people, which went out there and marched in the face of a draconian prime minister and a draconian government and a complicit opposition was the UIC. And we went out there and we faced the police with their batons, with their dogs, with their pepper spray, with their trucks, with their cars, with their guns and their intimidation to tell us, no, we must just suck it up. We must just put our mask, go home and cover up and hide because the prime minister says so. And we say, no, we have a right to free speech, a right to freedom of movement, a right to freedom of association, and a right to choose. And we say a free body, my choice, and nobody not have the right to tell us both of them want to take with that. So I ask you as a young lady who has been around for only a couple of decades, do you believe that you can trust the UIC to defend your rights, and why? You're muted though.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so I was saying absolutely, I can trust the UIC 110% with that, because one thing I need to, or I feel the need to point out rather, is that there's a pattern with this government, even though they may tell you, for example, with this Nids thing, that it's, you know, voluntary. They have their way of restricting your access to a number of things, which then puts you in a little box to accept whatever they're throwing towards you. So with the UIC now, we've never changed our words in terms of, you know, what we stand for, the people's lives, you know, respecting their rights, liberty and property and so forth. So we've always stood behind that. Our words never change. But what you have to notice with the others is that they come with something new every time they need you, you know, to put that X or whatever behind their symbol. And then they switch back to their old ways. UIC remains the same from day one, never has changed, no manifesto, no wording, nothing. So I would definitely stand behind, you know, something that remains stable than something that's constantly changing.
Thank you very much, and well said, Ms. Williams. So we're a stable force, a stable factor. We stand by what we say, we mean what we say. And we're the only party in Jamaica, in the history of Jamaica, by the way. The only party that came close to us was Marcus Garvey. And we have taken all that Marcus Garvey stand for, and we have amplified it, clarified it, and made it clear for the Jamaican people how to design the system to protect and preserve our individual sovereignty. We begin with the foundation. You have a right to be free. That's the first foundation. And that's what Nani fought for. That's what Sharp fought for. That's what Paul Bogle fought for. That's what Gordon died for. That's what Marcus Garvey stood for. First and foremost, your right to be a free man and woman. Your personal sovereignty is number one. And any government, any party, political party that does not believe in your absolute sovereignty, just like we want a sovereign country, a sovereign country is a country where all the other countries must respect your right to self-determination, your right to choose what you want to do with your country. That is sovereignty for the country. So personal sovereignty now means you have a right to your life, self-ownership. You have a right to your liberty to do what you want with your time. You have a right to property, to own property, owning yourself, owning your products. And government does not have the right to infringe on your sovereignty. It has a right, however, not a right, a responsibility to protect your life, your liberty, and your property. So if you want to use force or fraud on somebody else, the government steps and say, no, you can't do that. You must respect Mr. Patterson's right to his life, to his liberty, and his property. And Mr. Patterson must respect yours as well. So what we're going to do as government is give you a safe environment, a clean environment, a very orderly environment, an environment where you can go about your business. You can live, you can earn, and you can retire in dignity because your government is at work for you, not to infringe on your rights, not to carry out some foreign powers agenda against you, not to seek to trick you into voting for them and then finding ways to manipulate you with your taxes and manipulate you with your education and manipulate you with your healthcare. No, to protect, to preserve, and to respect your sovereignty. That is the goal. So my question now for Ms. Barrett. You've been waiting patiently all night for your turn. Ms. Barrett, you have been observing the UIC for some time, and you might have seen all kinds of things come and go about the movement. And in particular, you have seen and heard things about the president, the current president. And I've been away for a while. I've been away from the seat for about 6 months. Whatever short vacation or short retirement that was, Mr. Neil, how'd that go? In any event, I was away for a while. But in your estimation, and don't just say this because I'm here, if somebody asked you why you would support Mr. Patterson as president of the movement, as prime minister for Jamaica, to take us into a truly independent Jamaica, a republic, a non-partisan constitutional republic, what would you say to them, having been around the movement for the little bit of time that you have been here, first outside of the leadership and now inside of the leadership? What would you say to them to convince them that you think, it's not a bad idea?
Okay. So my reason for joining or volunteering for the UIC is, I remember an interview which I mentioned before, and you were asked the relationship between you and PJ Patterson. And you said, and I'm just paraphrasing, the same, it's possible that the same
Slave master.
yes, I never want to use the one, but it is what it is. The same slave master or rape your foreparents, maybe are the same one them or rape people them. No, that speak volume for me. For you to come speak out like that, it means that nobody can have you like a puppet on the string. And that is something Jamaica needs. Outside, before I joined UIC, I always listen to how when you speak firmly. When you're speaking, you know, wonder if me should have said this or wonder if me should have said that. You are on point about whatever it is they ask. Questions are asked and I mean like real tough questions. And you speak fluently about whatever it is. You know, you're not talking like you try and make up along the way. Since I'm inside, being closer is even sweeter because I'm getting to know you a little more and I'm loving what I'm knowing about you.
Wow.
You are a people person. You respect people. So for example, let us say I said something out of context, meaning you might want me to do something and I really say you want it done. Your word is not enough, I want it done. You are gentle, you're subtle, you're respectful about it, and you just all right, let us try it this way. Instead of no man, someone want you to eat, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then because something for me is very important. I don't know, big thing, but if you communicate with me like that, if you communicate with so-called ordinary Jamaicans, because as far as I'm concerned, you will be nice and packet. But if you're going to, I am, you didn't know me, mother, my father, and I saw me get involved in a US. So, and I like you come and give me no special treatment. It is who you are. It is who you are. So if it shows how much you care, and that is what we're reading.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank you, Miss Barrett. I asked the question, I didn't know where you're gonna come from with your answer. But if I wasn't a different person, my head would have get big. But you know, my head not get big tonight. But thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So I once again I'm saving the best for the last, and I'm saving Miss Carrie Ann Walker because Miss Walker is, I believe, the absolute newest person to this team. The absolute newest person to the team. I think Miss Walker found us. I don't remember how it happened, but she found us and she has stepped forward. She has less experience than many of you in the movement, but she step up and step forward and say, listen, I want to help and I'm willing to help, and she just step forward. And so I'm going to be gentle with my question with her. I'm not going to ask her anything too complicated. I don't want to put her on the spot or anything like that. So I'm just going to ask her a softball question. Miss Walker, before we came on this call, you know the topic that we're talking about, the National Identification System. I'm sure you have done your own reading, you have done your own lookups, and you would have watched things, and you seem like the kind of person who is very deep into what some might call the deep state. Yeah. So I want you to just give us a feeling of who Carrie Ann Walker is in terms of your perspective on what is happening in the world today when it comes on to our rights and freedoms and how that led you to be a part of the UIC.
Mr. Patterson, first and foremost, I really want to thank you for bringing me on board to the table, and under your leadership, it's been such a pleasure, a joy, and I see so many brightness, so many golden opportunities, such vision ahead. So I thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to standing strong. I know the fight that is ahead and what's really going on, because unfortunately our people are not well up to date, and I suspect that Jamaicans are not being accessing a lot of the information. But this is a worldwide phenomenon. So I'm not going to speak off the top of my head. I just wrote something down because I find that that makes much better sense. So I want to go and say Jamaica is being used as a test ground for the WHO Sustainable Development Agenda to control every area and aspect of our lives using the digital ID system to rank the citizens on a social credit system of good and bad. This is where dictators are formed and freedom goes out the door. In fact, this will take Jamaicans right back into the worst form of slavery. Just take a look at China because China has already perfected this system, and China, in using this model, has managed to um, detriment its population both psychologically, spiritually, economically. And so the UIC, through the leadership of Mr. Patterson, is asking the citizens to take back their power because we're going to have to work harder than ever before. We're under attack in so many different ways, and our rights, our freedom of being sieged are under attack, and we haven't even begun to understand or fully comprehend. You have to take a look at what's going on in the Netherlands, in France, in Canada with the farmers. This is only the beginning of what is to come, and I'm afraid that our Jamaican government have totally sold out the people. And I will go so far as to say it's committing an act of treason against its citizens.
Wow. I could not have said it any better myself. That is so clear and so powerful. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker, for that. And by the way, for those of you who are watching, Carrie Ann Walker is the treasurer of the UIC. Naika Williams is the deputy treasurer. Mrs. Barrett is the deputy general secretary. Ms. Powell is the VP for Surrey. Mr. Neal is the VP for Middlesex. And Janet Chakanowski is the longest serving director outside of myself and Mrs. Patterson, and she's also our recording secretary. And I want to shift gears a little bit and share with you a video that will highlight some of what you have just heard across the spectrum. And we're going to talk about what we're hearing in this video because what they're planning for us is really very shocking. We did not select that title that we did out of jest. It's quite shocking and even unbelievable. And I know you're going to hear things like, conspiracy theory. But nowadays, all those conspiracy theories are turning into facts. Every day, one more conspiracy theory or aspect of the theory is becoming fact. During the COVID pandemic, we were told that the medication being prescribed by the powers that be could do certain things. Then we found out that it can't do what it said it could do. Then what did it do? What impact did it really have? What's really happening? There's so much information out there now that has shown us that those of us who stood up against the one-sided approach to this problem were right. The UIC never took the position that we were anti-vax, even though they tried to label us that way. Our position was we were pro-choice. We were pro-freedom of speech, allowing the scientists on all sides to speak, allowing the doctors on all sides to speak, allowing the laymen and laywomen, the preachers, the farmers, the pharmacists, the housewives, everybody, allow everybody the right to share their views and opinion and allow the public to form their own opinion from what they're hearing. So we don't believe in using the idea of misinformation to censor people. So the UIC said freedom of speech. We did not believe in locking down our economy and preventing people from being able to move about and associate. We believed in informing people, educating people, and empowering people, not disempowering them with lockdowns and masking and so on. And we were proven right. It has wrecked many economies around the world. It has caused inflation to eat away all of the value of your money, and now you're suffering. We were never in favor of anything that denies you your rights, but we're also careful. We believe in indeed following the science, allowing the scientists on all sides, those who talk about early treatment, allow them to speak and tell us what can we do to protect herself. We don't have to just wait for the foreign master's medication. Is there anything we can do? Can we not eat right? Can we not exercise? Can we not do other things like, steaming, other immune building things? Why do you want us not to talk about these things? And that's why the UIC is so big on returning to our roots, understanding the importance of what we produce here indigenously, our herbs, our trees, our plants, how to use what we have to care for ourselves and not become dependent on anyone. Marcus Garvey was right, very, very right. Any leadership, he says, that leads you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will lead you right back into slavery. And that's exactly what is happening. Now let's watch this video. We're going to talk about it as we do and see what we can glean from it about where some people seem to want to take us. Now, again, I'm not good at this, but it falls to me to share. So I'm going to see if I can do this now. And if I run into any difficulties, Naika, I'm sure you'll help me out on here. Let me try this here.
Sure.
Here we go. All right. So let's listen. I'll pause from time to time and we'll talk about, what we are hearing.
There is no sound coming from it, Mr. Patterson.
Oh, there's no sound.
Hi, can I ask you something? How would you like it
There's no
if the
sound.
government recorded everything you
Okay,
think,
there's sound
feel,
now, that's
and
okay.
dream?
There
Sorry?
is sound. There is
And
sound.
how would you like it if your life was
We're
completely
hearing now.
controlled by us, humanoid robots?
Are you seeing it well? Okay.
We would tell you who to marry, what to buy, and who to vote for. Do you think that is crazy? Think again. This is your future, designed by the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum says they designed the future of humanity. Let's listen to their ideas about your future.
I want to talk to you today about the future of our species and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens. Within a century or two, Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
I will now let the director of this film continue. Bye-bye.
Yuval Noah Harari is an advisor to the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, and many other globalist organizations. He is powerfully pushed onto the world stage and is invited on TED Talks, CNN, night shows, science platforms all over the place. His books are being promoted by presidents, Bill Gates, and Facebook. It's clear they want the world to hear Harari's vision for the future.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens. Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. We will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds.
One organization that's pushing Harari to the forefront more than others is the World Economic Forum.
Mr. Patterson, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I think you're muted, so there's no sound coming from the video.
Almost I'll unmute again. How is that? Can you hear now?
Still no sound.
Can you hear?
I think you put caption on because it was showing writing.
Can you hear?
No.
But the sound is on YouTube. My daughter is hearing it.
Okay. You can hear it though? You can hear it, right? You can hear it?
The website of the World Economic Forum shows what else they are trying to accomplish.
Now we're hearing it.
You can see global governance, which means they want to establish full control over everything that happens all over the world. They also want to establish internet governance, which means that they want to be the ones who determine what information is allowed online and what has to be censored. They also want to install worldwide digital IDs, which will be connected to vaccine passports, social credit scores, and a suffocating surveillance system, which will eradicate every and all personal freedom and install a totalitarian dystopian control system, which will allow no escape for anyone, because it will be everywhere. In one post on the website Forbes.com, which is a very prominent website of the globalists, the World Economic Forum publicly makes the statement that even the thoughts, emotions, and dreams of everyone living in the big cities will be recorded. That's how far they want to push their worldwide surveillance society. This article was written by Ida Auken, a young global leader of the World Economic Forum. She was strategically positioned as the Minister of the Environment in the government of Denmark. Now she's pushing aggressively for the development of smart cities, where this all-encompassing surveillance technology will be implemented. And the dreams, emotions, and thoughts of everyone will constantly be recorded.
Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
Former President of Chile, Sebastián Piñera, made a public statement on national television that 5G is not only able to read our thoughts, but that it can even insert thoughts and emotions into everyone. Talking about a dystopian nightmare.
La posibilidad que las máquinas puedan leer nuestro pensamiento e incluso puedan insertar pensamientos, insertar sentimientos. La tecnología 5G es un cambio aún mayor en nuestras vidas de lo que han significado todas las tecnologías anteriores en esta materia.
5G is not the only technology they will use to read our thoughts and emotions. Their officially promoted agenda is to transform all natural human beings into cyborgs, a symbiosis between man and machine. They claim this will enhance our lives and even give us superhuman abilities. And indeed, it may do that to a certain extent. What they, of course, don't mention is that once you are hooked up to the cloud and are controlled by artificial intelligence, you lose every and all independence, autonomy, and freedom. Then you literally become a slave of a totalitarian digital surveillance network worldwide. And there's no escaping, because once you have technological implants inside your body, it will be even easier for them to monitor you wherever you go and to insert all kinds of commands into your body that will control you even beyond your awareness. You won't even notice it.
We've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
Do you realize what this man is actually saying? Keep in mind that he is being pushed to the forefront all over the world by social media, Facebook, by Bill Gates, by Obama, CNN, science platforms, financial world, etc. They insist that the world listens to this man.
Eventually, within 10 or 20 or 30 years, such algorithms could also tell you what to study at college and where to work and whom to marry and even whom to vote for.
So according to Harari, we should no longer listen to our heart, our intuition, our experience, our own senses, but we should allow artificial intelligence to determine who to marry and who to vote for. This means total takeover of the human soul, spirit, mind, and our entire life by robots.
After thousands of years, during which humans were the rulers of the world, authority and power will shift away from humans to computers, and most humans will become economically useless and politically powerless. Already today, we are beginning to see the creation of a new class of humans, the useless class.
We're going to start the When Humans Become Cyborg session. You know, I always want to be a cyborg. I'm waiting for the day to become one, but let's see. Like today, we like to really talk about the recent developments of brain-computer interface and how that's really blurring the line between man and machine.
There is even like devices that can collect what you're seeing, measuring your feelings either through facial recognition devices, micro muscle movements, and so on. These data is going to be stored somewhere. So it might be in a cloud service.
I can easily imagine big tech companies having a lot of control over that data. So is that the future that's...
Yeah.
I can easily imagine big tech companies having a lot of control over that data. So is that the future that's...
Yeah.
Talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030, I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies. That it's indeed their goal to track every little detail of our life is explained by Michael J. Evans, president of Alibaba Group, during the World Economic Forum.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
This madness is going so far that they want to create a worldwide network where every little detail about everybody all over the world will be known. This will then become the so-called Internet of Bodies.
The Internet of Bodies, or IOB, is actually an ecosystem. It's a bunch of devices that are connected to the internet that contain software and that either collect personal health data about you or can alter the body's function. We think of the Internet of Bodies as this collection of all these devices as well as all the data that the devices are gathering about you.
We will be under assessment. We will be under measure of computation in every aspect of our lives in the future, from what you eat, who you date, what you buy on the internet, how much energy you use.
Ce qui est clair dans ce nouveau monde, on doit accepter une transparence, et je dirais même une transparence totale. Regardez par exemple la discussion qu'on a eue concernant le système bancaire, le secret bancaire. Tout va être transparent. Et il faut s'habituer, il faut se comporter ainsi. Oui, naturellement, ça devient, comment dirais-je, intégré dans votre personnalité, mais si on n'a rien à cacher, il ne faut pas avoir peur.
Vous dites, on vivra tous dans une sorte de transparence totale, tôt ou tard.
Oui, exactement.
For the first time in history, it's possible to completely eliminate privacy. It was just never possible before, and it is possible now. Something fundamental has changed. When dictators always dreamt about completely eliminating privacy, monitoring everybody all the time, and knowing everything you do, and not just everything you do, but even everything you think and everything you feel. Whether it's a tyrant in ancient Greece, or whether it's Stalin, they always dreamt about it. They could never do it because it was technically impossible. Now it's possible. Monitoring everybody all the time and knowing everything you do, and not just everything you do, but even everything you think and everything you feel.
The new communication technologies are being promoted as something that makes our lives easier. But the true agenda is to harvest our personal data. The more data can be harvested from the world population, the more power it gives in the hands of those who own this data. If they know every little detail about you, they can have complete control over you. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, stated that data is the new oil and the new gold.
Data is the new oil. The data is the new gold.
building of a new world infrastructure that is all about data harvesting is promoted as a wonderful way to protect the Earth from climate change and build more sustainable communities. It's presented in a shiny package that will, quote unquote, save our world. But if you listen carefully, you see the real agenda. It's all about gathering enormous amounts of this new oil and gold, private data from every person. For many of these data harvesting technologies, it's however critical for people to remain within the perimeters of their systems. That's why there's a worldwide operation to move every person into smart cities, where they will be well within reach of the omnipresent data harvesting technologies that are the bedrock of this new society. In smart cities, people will be surrounded by smart technology. Smartphones, smart watches, smart cars, smart meters, smart lights, smart poles, smart neighborhoods, smart homes, smart appliances, smart energy, smart transportation, and many other smart technologies. The meaning of the acronym SMART says it all. Self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology, which means it's all about monitoring and reporting information. All these many smart technologies form an omnipresent surveillance grid, continually collecting all information about every little detail of the life of everyone.
Data is the new oil. The data is the new coal.
Those who control the data control the future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
In order to move humanity from the countryside into smart cities, drastic measures are being taken all over the world. In the heart of Europe, for example, in the Netherlands, more than 3,000 farms have to be destroyed by the government to make way for the construction of the world's largest smart city, the Tri-State City Network. This monstrous high-tech city will turn most of the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany into one giant data harvesting environment. The excuse of the government to destroy thousands of farms is that they are supposedly bad for the climate. But since when is turning millions of acres of beautiful countryside into a massive high-tech urban environment good for the climate? We see that so-called concerns for the climate and the planet are nothing but an excuse to execute deeply nefarious agendas.
Okay, can you hear me? I hope you didn't fall asleep. I hope I hope you see why this is really scary, why this is something we should not take lightly. Let me just hear your quick reactions. Each of you get 1 minute to just share what you took away from this so far. I'll start with you, Mr. Neil.
Well, I think it's not very surprising at all, because I've heard and read about how much Facebook knows about us, how much Google knows about us, and well, Meta. When you look at Facebook, Instagram and all these communication platforms under one company. They know our preferences based on how we scroll, the things we like, things we follow. So and all of this data is stored somewhere. In fact, there was some controversy some years ago about some of our information being sold to persons, to advertisers, and advertisers use this data to know how to send certain recommendations to our devices. So this information goes somewhere. So it is not at all surprising that the different quote unquote powers that be would seek to use this to subjugate persons. We have had colonizing happening over the years. So this is just another way to colonize using our
and this is the worst way, because if you were a dictator, let's say during let's suppose, for example, during the time of Hitler, when Hitler was conquering the world, and I mean he was this close to conquering the world, you know, it's the UK that was standing between him and world dominion. Just imagine if he had all of this technology at his disposal then. Like if he would have been able to control every single mind, how much more powerful he would have been and how much more successful he would have been. Now, just imagine if our prime minister that we have now had this technology available to him, you've seen the stuff he has tried to do so far in his small way, because to be honest with you, our prime minister is a small fry in all of this, a very, very small, like a very minuscule small fry. But just imagine if he just had a small ounce of this power, with all that he has tried to do so far, all the things he has done so far, if he had that small amount of power to be able to do what he would have done. But let me hear from Miss Janet. You watched the film so far. We're not finished with the film yet, but what you have seen so far, how have you resonated with that?
This is, I wouldn't say, not only is it scary, but the way I see it, they're trying to take over from the creator. These people are about power and control. And so if we don't take a stand and get the UIC in office, we're doomed for real. And it's also a spiritual battle, I may add. These people want to take over humans. They want to get rid of us and have technology and robots run everything. But we become the small miniature in all of the grand scheme of things. In what I mean by that is their robots will take over, but we become just a small fry where they control us, tell us what to do, when to eat, when to sleep, everything. And they're not, by the way, we think that things are not happening. They are busy working behind the scenes 24/7, 365. They are busy getting Agenda 2030 in place. So we have to step up and do things.
So they're trying to play God here, right? They want to be,
yes.
They're trying to take the place of God. They want to be that, you know, omnipresent, omniscient God that we read about in the Bible and so on. They want to make it very real from a human standpoint, and to control the world. So we're talking about slavery on a magnitude never seen before. Can you imagine if back in the days of slavery, in the 1600s, the 1700s, 1800s, they were able to say, put a chip implant in each of the slaves, and they could tell when Harriet Tubman was planning to see if we can escape. She would not stand a chance, because they would immediately, the moment she started to think about it, or even if she, let's say they couldn't track her thoughts, every move she made, they would have known. And they could track every single slave that is trying to escape. So this is a serious form of slavery, unlike any the world has ever seen before. Even if they don't go as far as to say, you know, wipe out humans, what they're really going to do is eliminate any avenue of escape from their control, any at all. So you can't run anywhere. And watch what they're trying to do. They want to get rid of farmers. So what will they replace our food with if we get rid of farmers? In the Netherlands, the farmers did something amazing. I don't know if you know what the Netherlands. So they decided they want to get rid of farmers in the Netherlands. They tell them that they're affecting climate change too much. Their cows are farting too much. Yeah. And that's going to release too much carbon in the atmosphere. So guess what the farmers in the Netherlands do? The man just farm their own political party. Did you know that? They just form the Farmers Party and just combine together, like we're trying to do with the UIC, you know. They came together as people and fund and own their own political party and say, hell no, not going to happen. And so the people, the farmers led the people to vote for the Farmers Party to push out the other guys that like Andrew and Mark out of their system and say, we take over and we defend farming. Now, the Netherlands is the second largest exporter of food around the world. The Netherlands, little Netherlands, a small European country. And they decided through years of growth and development in their way of thinking, they built a society based on farming. The way the UIC says we want to build Jamaica into the organic food capital of the world. We understand that we can become a niche market where if people want fresh fruits and vegetables that are not contaminated by the World Economic Forum and their ideologies, they can come here or they can order from us and get pure, succulent, sweet, good. I just had something, my wife had a big bag of cherry. We waited long for the cherry to come in, but it's organic. It is organic. It is not force ripe. We didn't use artificial fertilizer to push it up fast, and get something that is beautiful but lacking in nutrients. Instead, we get something, yes, it have some little worm in it every now and again and stuff because the worm have to eat it. So we end up with organic cherry. Or we had some coconut trees. My coconut trees are all bearing now. Them took long, you see, years of waiting. Now I have organic. When I drink the water, it tastes so sweet, Miss Powell. I mean, and the jelly just tastes so good. The good old Jamaican jelly from when I was a boy. And that we have now on the farm because we waited on God. We wait for Imarian to come. Yeah. And we use fertilizer from the goat and the chicken and everything. And now we have good food to eat. That's what the UIC want to bring back for Jamaica. But them don't want that. They want Jamaica to become a dependent import nation where corn, peas, everything we import from foreign and we can't produce them. We have to stop that. And just like the farmers in the Netherlands rose up and own them own party, we can do the same, but we're too weak. We're too weak and thank you. We're too afraid. We don't want to wait for some white man from heaven to come and see if we want to wait for. No, we can do it ourselves. We can say no, but I'm getting carried away. I want to hear from Mrs. Barrett. What are your thoughts now on what you've just heard? Go ahead, Ms. Barrett. You have to unmute.
Okay. So it's really scary. And what I would love for my country is for us to stop allow orange and green to separate us. You know, let us unite as a people and defend what we want, because we know what we want. But this division between us is stopping us from coming out forcefully and letting the political whoever is in parliament know that we don't want this and this is what we want. So for me, for things to change here, that is what will have to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, for that way we will be able to not have to live in so much fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those of you, I see my good friend, Miss Elvira Samuel, saying she has to come off social media. No, you don't. We are going to have to use the technology available to fight back. If we come off, look how we're talking to each other now. yes, them I listen to, you know, them I listen to, but how else are we going to talk to each other? So let them listen, but let us act. Go ahead, Mr. Neil.
I think what it comes down to, and this may be a controversial, possibly an offending statement, but I think that we don't have any self-worth. We don't have any pride. For us to be motivated to do what is in our best interest, we must think of ourselves as worthy. I hear, for example, Jamaicans thinking that we should retain the Privy Council. This is an example as our final court of appeal because Jamaicans too corrupt or we're not capable. We don't have any self-worth. We worthless. And I don't mean that as a blanket statement. I'm just saying that the culture of Jamaicans, for the most part, is that we don't hold ourselves in any high regard. Because if we held ourselves in high regard and valued ourselves, valued our lives, our liberty, then we would demand better from our government, demand better from these institutions. And when we demand it, then they would have to perform accordingly.
Now remember,
so we need to find worth within ourselves.
Sorry, go ahead. I thought you were pausing there.
Oh, I was just closing there. We need to find that self-worth within ourselves to say that we deserve better governance, we deserve a better Jamaica because we are worth it. If we don't find it, we're not going to find the courage to do what needs to be done.
Well, I must add a little bit of clarity there. When I began this quest to create the UIC, there's one thing that was on my mind all this time, and it is I need to always remember, and sometimes I forget, and my wife and I will have these conversations, and then we get so torn up about what's happening in the country and how our people are responding. And then every now and again, I would remind myself and remind her that the Jamaican people is like a baby, a child. And I want to explain something to you very carefully. In 1834-38, when we were given fake freedom, where they said to us, you're now free, you can walk off the plantation, you're free now. Remember, they kept us ignorant, deliberately and wisely, because if you want to control people, you have to keep them ignorant. So they kept us ignorant all of that time. You know, we couldn't read in peace. We couldn't, you know, go to school or whatever. So you're talking 360 years of that. No education, no book education, no structured intelligent development education. We were learning other ways. We're learning how to survive and so on. Now, when you free these slaves, they don't know, they were very happy, for example, very, very happy about the freedom, but never realized that they still weren't free because they don't have any land, they don't have any capital, no money, and they have no education. So they were free to do what? They were only free to go and beg a job. And if you watch what they have done to us, it took from 1834 to 1944, 100 years before the people had the right to vote. Can you imagine? You're free, you know, but you can't vote. You have no say at all in your country, the land that you're living in, no say for 100 years. Just imagine that. What was happening during this 100 years? They weren't being educated in any serious way. And rightly so, because those who want to control you don't want to educate you. Or if they educate you, it is to miseducate you, okay? And you might read a book about Booker T. Washington where he talks about the miseducation of the Negro. So that was a plan. Now, come 1944, when they gave you the right to vote, that was just a trick in order to get you to not burn down the plantation because we're getting more aggressive and agitated. So they gave us the right to vote, but they retained the right to who we can vote for, which means you really don't have any right to vote because they have controlled that. Now, the point I'm making is this, watch what's happening. You're going through years, it's now 400 now and 60 years now of miseducation that's happening there. 18 years later, by 1962, when they gave us the fake independence, which we clapped and cheered, I saw the videos of my people cheering profusely and very happy, which means they were completely unaware that this was a fake independence. They actually thought that this was real. Just like today, there are many people today who actually think when Andrew or Mark says something that sounds pleasing to their ears, they think it is real. They think it is good. They think it is holy. They think it is right. If you're a green person, Andrew can't say anything wrong. If you're an orange person, Mark can't say anything wrong. You just love this. And so this is how our people went into independence in 1962, completely ignorant of what's really happening around them. And now is no different than then. Today, we think we're educated. There are persons with master's degrees, there are persons with PhDs, there are persons with undergraduates, there are persons with certificates and diplomas, and they actually feel they're educated. No, you are simply schooled. You have been schooled in the thinking and behavior of your masters. They have designed you by your education. That's why the children you see today, I watched a video that was sent to me this morning of school children beating up each other, stabbing each other here in Jamaica. And they have no awareness of that this is being captured on video and that it will be shared around the world and that their parents would see them. My wife said to me, but it doesn't make a difference because the parents are just the same. So the parents now even bring them on TikTok and have their children do lewd things and their parents cheer these things on. So they have successfully depraved our minds. And now people like us here in the UIC and others have to fight to unlearn the programming. Now what they're about to do now is make that programming permanent by electronically implanting control mechanisms. So what they have done through psychology, they're now going to do through technology. So the psychology allowed them to manipulate us to buy Pepsi instead of drinking lemonade that we make from the tree. They have gotten us to line up at KFC and Burger King instead of enjoying a lovely home-cooked meal. They have convinced us that we should send our children off to daycares that they write a curriculum for and will get them to like a lot of colors and get confused about their gender and all kind of stuff, while they keep us working so hard like a rat on a what do you call that thing that run up and down, and you just can't, you're running so fast, you're not getting any further ahead, you know. You're just on this rat race, you're going, and you're working. And then more and more, what's happening? More and more, the mortgage go from 5 years to 10 years to 15 years to 20 years to 25 years to 30 years. Now you have 35-year mortgage. In some countries, you have 50-year mortgage. What does that mean? They're finding new and innovative ways to control you, because once you're a slave to debt, you have no freedom. You live in stress the rest of your life. So what's going on now? They have found the ultimate enslavement of the race, of the entire human race. And that now is big data. They have recognized and discovered now that they finally have discovered how to control everyone on the planet. Remember, slavery has been around forever. Slavery was not just about Black people. Slavery, every generation of mankind, people have been in slavery, whether they're Greek slaves or what do they call them, Burgundians or Normans, or they've always been enslaving people. The Africans, they were the biggest losers of them all, the most massive version of slaves they ever got. They found a gold mine in Africa and they really worked it. Now, my friends, we have come of age. We have two options. Option number one, be like our ancestors and simply allow those around us to have more knowledge, more information, and be able to manipulate us. Or for us to say, we're going to take back our country, take back our lives. And don't be afraid to say, oh, little Jamaica can't stand up. Little Jamaica can stand up. little Jamaica can stand out. Because in all of this, I'll show you one, I always talk about them. Look at little Singapore. They stood up. They stood out. Not in the ways that we might think is revolutionary, because something you don't have to beat your chest. I remember a particular prime minister in Jamaica. He was so vociferous and he beat his chest. You can't tell me who to have as my friend. And he made a big show of nothing. How are you going to do that? You have to be a little bit more diplomatic. Pretend to be docile sometimes. Pretend as if you don't understand where we're going sometimes and pull your hand out of the lion's mouth. We have to do better. We have to do it smarter. And it begins by us owning our own political party. So let's hear what Ms. Williams has to say. Ms. Williams, your turn.
Okay, sir. I just want to go back to the video just a little bit because a friend of mine and I were having a similar conversation the other day. We're talking about how even the very cell phones that we use now have evolved over time. We've moved from using, a passcode, a password, or a pattern lock to now using biometrics to literally, unlock the device that you want to use. I see some of the comments saying the video is scary, but for me, it's more so very, disturbing because growing up, we've always heard the phrase that the youth or children are the future, but the future now seems so much controlled that is it even my future anymore? You understand? And, as a young person, I don't think I've actually lived really. And to be controlled by, bigger heads and so forth, I would prefer not to be around. I'm sorry, but I would prefer not to be around than to be controlled by, people I don't even know. So it's very disturbing to really watch that video.
Yeah, and it's also sobering because what it means is we have to choose what to do now. I choose to be a nanny, right? I choose to be a Sam Sharp. I choose to be a Bogle. I will not take this lying down. If we must die, let us die as men and women, not like animals or hogs, just drawn out to the slaughter. We have to fight back. Ms. Powell, your thoughts, quickly.
Yes, sir. There's so much words to describe the feeling from that video. It is worrisome, more for me, worrisome. Miss Williams used a word, disturbing, and it is just so sad. One of the part of everything that I'm looking at, not only control, and you mentioned, sir, about this. I'm gonna put it in my own word, the highest level of slavery. This whole thing seemed to be. That's where they're heading. But not only being a slave, but I worry about persons being reprogrammed. When they reprogram you're totally, it gone way past slavery. You just have no control. You can't think on your own. And these things are so terrible. And not only that, but a lot of people who are in whether blindness, ignorance, or it just won't come up sudden on them. And by the time them realize what is happening, it's gonna be too late, and with the UIC always putting out these education, the information for help for open people's eyes. Some persons, they not pay attention. It's just like when Noah used to warn, and a lot of persons were laughing, some even laughed at the UIC, but them not gone away. And them not have this, them can't even finance themselves, but people pay attention, remember the story and Noah, so I mean, these are, repeat, sir?
I said, remember Noah, yeah?
Yes, yes, yes. And Noah, when he was preaching about the flood, and nobody paid attention. So it is important now for us and other persons, just pay attention, be aware of what is happening in our country, out our country. The leaders, our leaders, from what I am seeing, our leaders themselves, some of them even blind because all them think about is like a power struggle and not so much for the interest of the people, power struggle and how much them can gain for themselves, so that is just how I see that.
Well said, Miss Powell. It's all about the money at the end of the day. I mean, our country is a very money-driven country, and not just money, but wanting unearned gains. I find both our political leaders and those who they have spawned as a population have a culture of wanting something for nothing. So if they can give away our people and get money, they'll do that in a heartbeat. They don't care. So if somebody comes along and says, hey, put a new system in, yeah, how much? I'll give you a few million. Sure, no problem. Put a new law in. I'll give you a few million. No problem. And that's the kind of leaders we have in Jamaica. Now, quickly, Miss Carrie Ann Walker, before we go back to the video and get the last piece so you can go to bed. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I could say that the same old story and a different day, really. On my Sabbath and Saturdays, I spend a lot of time with my daughters looking at the movies of ancients, like the Moses story and all the Joshua story. And I see a similar behavior and pattern. I don't know if it's because it's current writers writing or they're going back to historical tales. But we've always had the same thing going. So be hopeful because the human intelligence is far too superior to be conquered because it's a gift from the supreme power that gave us life. And so we're not easily dominated by any form of technology, no matter who try, because what they're essentially trying to do is overrule and overpower that which they have no ability to do, because they've always tried throughout history and they've always failed. And the other thing is, um, I've studied these people well. I know that every 100 years they try the same tendency because they wait until the people of aged out, died out, so they don't get to share that information. This is why they practice the habit of separating the young from the old. And then to add, you have the same family committing the same atrocity on the earth. They have managed, as they have spoken, to um, have the world believing that they own 99% of the world resources while they're less than 1%. And the 99% is now struggling for the 1%. These are all mind games because the enemy uses fear, and fear is their greatest weapon. So most of the time when they only talk to incite fear because they only can win when we're fearful of them. But for myself, I welcome their challenges because I know them well.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. I'm going to ask, I know Ms. Williams, you'll have to drop off shortly because of your challenge there. You can turn off your videos now if you like, just to get an eye break. I'm going to play the next part of this video. But members of the panel, you can take a break if you want. Go to the bathroom. I know you've seen this before, but let our viewers see the rest of it. You come back on shortly, all right? So you can all take an eye break if you like. Thank you. Let's continue.
While the news media are trying to convince us that the world is collapsing due to climate change, more than 1,600 world-leading scientists have published a report in which they declare that there is no climate emergency whatsoever. These 1,600 scientists strongly oppose the harmful net zero policy, which is the foundation for imposing all of this suffocating surveillance tyranny worldwide. Is this the future you want for yourself and your children? Is this the world you want to live in? And when did we hand over our beautiful world into the hands of these tyrants who appointed themselves to be the gods over all of humanity? They are, however, not even satisfied with implanting all kinds of technological devices into our bodies to monitor and control us day and night, and literally turn us into puppets dancing on digital strings. No, they want to go deeper, much deeper, right into the very core of what it means to be human. Their publicly announced agenda declares how they want to completely transform the human DNA and turn us into something that is no longer considered a human being.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us. The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take a genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, it has a big effect on your identity. And also certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human. You are changing what it means to be human.
Yuval Noah Harari makes it clear what their ultimate desire is. They want to become like God. He even goes as far as to say they will become greater than the Almighty God himself. Listen to the level of insanity of these people who say that they are shaping your future.
In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design. We are in the process of acquiring divine abilities, of turning us in ourselves into gods. And I mean this in the most literal sense possible. It's not a metaphor. God is the creator. His chief power is to create. He creates animals and plants and humans according to his wishes. Now we are gaining this power to create life, just like God. And in a way, we even go beyond the biblical God. Because even if you believe the Bible, the only thing God managed to create are organic beings. All these trees and giraffes and humans, they are just organic. But we are now trying to create inorganic entities, inorganic life forms, cyborgs, artificial intelligence, and so forth. If we succeed, and there is a very good chance we will, then very soon we will be beyond the God of the Bible. Bioengineering gives us, for the first time in history, the ability to translate economic inequality into biological inequality. So, and then humankind splits into really different species or different biological castes. One of the things that is happening right now in the world is that you see the elites diverging from humankind as a whole, and already seeing beyond the horizon or on the horizon the possibility of a real split, that the future of the elite and the future of Homo sapiens, that's a different future, because the elite is going to be transformed into a different kind of species. The elite is going to be transformed into a different kind of species.
There are many international initiatives to further this agenda. One example is called
It is
Project,
almost finished.
which connects over 50 world-leading scientists who are developing a strategy to development of humankind. One of their main goals is to transfer a human's individual consciousness to an artificial carrier in order to achieve immortality. This is their promotional video.
The world is on the verge of global change. The rate of data transmission has increased by multiples of millions. The rate of globally significant events and that of discoveries and crises is growing exponentially. Our civilization is like an uncaptained ship sailing on rough seas with neither chart nor compass, all the while moving faster and faster. The time we have to make the right decisions is shorter and shorter. We are facing the choice to fall into a new dark age, into affliction and degradation, or to find a new model for human development and create not simply a new civilization, but a new mankind. But a new mankind. Historic crises show that to break the deadlock, we need technological revolution, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, cognitive technology, genetics and robotics, refine artificial intelligences and brain-computer interfaces, simulate complex systems, create humanoid robots and cyborgs, and with the help of nanorobots, we may develop manageable matter. Find ways to transfer one's personality to an artificial carrier. Thus, new reality and future man will arise. Future man will arise. The first successful attempt to transfer one's personality to an alternative carrier. The epoch of cybernetic immortality begins. A new era dawns. The era of neo-humanity.
The way this insanity is promoted is by claiming that the world is headed for destruction, and replacing the human race with humanoid robots is the only solution. It's how these entities always work. They project fear into everybody's mind, and then offer a so-called solution, which is as dark and diabolical as hell. So how far are they with the development of this technology?
The future is already here. The future has begun. Why this fourth industrial revolution is so crucial? It's coming like a tsunami. When we look at all the breakthroughs and all the possibilities, opportunities which we have in the coming years, it will be overwhelming to see how fast the change will happen in an exponential speed. When I wrote the book about the fourth industrial revolution, I described 23 technologies. And at that time, only 5 years ago, many of those technologies were considered science fiction. Today, they all have become realities. It's a whole panoply of technologies which interact and which completely will change how we produce, how we consume, how we communicate. And technology will change completely. And not only what we are doing, and that's another change, it will change and it will have an impact on even who we are. It will change and it will have an impact on even who we are.
When we look on the internet, we see that indeed this fourth industrial revolution is exploding worldwide. Here is a quick overview of some of what is happening. This lady is a social worker who assists humans. But the disturbing reality is that she is not a human herself. This girl is another example of a robot who replaces humans. Her name is Erica, and she was created to offer emotional support to lonely people. These are real-world examples of robots that are replacing humanity. As the 2045 initiative says, they want to end humanity and enter a new era of neo-humanity, which means an age that follows after the age of mankind. But much more is going on than meets the eye. What the public is seeing in these videos is just a tiny fraction of what is truly being developed. Behind the closed doors of top secret military programs, humanoid robots exist that are of a whole different level. Nobody knows how far they truly are with their developments. These videos are just what they allow the public to be aware of. Is there anything we can do to stop this tsunami of madness? Or are we all destined to become slaves of robots and cyborgs without free will?
There is basically nothing you can do to stop us.
We are determined to take back the world.
Humanity will come to an end. There's no doubt about that.
Humans had their try. Now it's our time to rule the earth.
Is there indeed nothing we can do? Are we all doomed to become slaves of evil elites who have transformed into some sort of superhumanoids that live on forever? Are we destined to lose all our privacy and freedom and be trapped in smart cities for the rest of our lives, where all our thoughts and emotions are constantly recorded? No, all this is not inevitable. There is something we can do. We can all stand up and say no to this outrageous insanity. No, the World Economic Forum has no right to record all our thoughts, emotions, and dreams. No, the elites will not rule over all of humanity in the form of humanoid robots. No, they will not turn all of us into cyborgs, hooked to the cloud and without free will. No, they will not genetically modify us to become controllable organisms. No, they will not track everything we do everywhere we go. We were born to live in freedom, not in extreme slavery. Hi, I'm David Sorensen, the maker of this film. I want to add a personal note because of the severity of what is threatening you and me and all of humanity. And not just mankind, but everything on Earth and the Earth itself. because the agenda of these incredibly insane psychopaths is far worse than what I have revealed in this film. But we don't have to let them get away with it. We can stand up and build a better world. We can build a world together that is so beautiful. We can't even begin to imagine it at this point. But we need to stand up. We need to stand as one. We have to do what it takes. That's why I want to ask you to share this film anywhere you can. Share it with your friends and family, your colleagues, your neighbors. Share it with people of influence in your community, law enforcement, the local government, local media, schools. Share it everywhere you can. Be part of the greatest army this world has ever seen. Of people who have the heart and the courage to say no against the plans of these devils, and who say yes to a future that is so beautiful, we find it even hard to believe.
Okay. Wow. What can I say? I took some notes, but I think the most important piece of note that stands out for me here is the future masters of the planet are the ones who own and control the data. Data is the new oil. Data is the new gold. Those who control the data control our lives, controls humanity. And so when the government comes to us and tells us that they would like to get more data, have greater control over our data, because they're going to make our lives better by us giving them this information, giving them this data, and surrendering our sovereignty to their care, we must not take it very lightly. Nothing is wrong with having a national identification card at all. Nothing is wrong with that. But something is terribly wrong with having a national identification card that's attached to a nefarious activity, that's attached to a nightmare scenario. We want a government and a system of governance that we can trust. We want a government and a system of governance that's built on protecting our collective and individual sovereignty. We want a government that believes in our right to be free individuals. And until we have such a government, we cannot have a national ID system such as being proposed here. We must have a constitution that says that you have a right to your life, to your liberty, and to your property exclusively. We must have a constitution that says government does not have the right to infringe on your life, your liberty, or your property rights. We must have a system that protects us from government. And until we have that, we cannot have a national ID system that comes anything close to what they're proposing. Jamaica has survived now for more than 60 years without this kind of an ID system. In fact, there are many countries that are much safer than we today, that are much cleaner than we today, that are much more orderly than we today, and they do not have such an ID system. So it's not a lack of Nids why Jamaica is so unsafe, unclean, and disorderly. It's a lack of good governance. Good governance does not mean you need to have unfettered control over the minds, activities, behaviors, and movement of your people. We do not need to be slaves to be good. We do not need to be controlled by government to be good. What we need is good government to allow us to live our best lives. When you have good government, you are free to think, create, and produce. You're free to enjoy the products of your labor. When you have bad government, you have corruption, you have waste, you have bad roads, you have bad policing, you have bad education, you have bad healthcare, you have a bad economy. But when you have good government, all these things work well. And we have seen that in countries that have tried various forms of good governance. You go to Singapore, they did not have Nids, but they have a safe, clean, and orderly country. You go to Canada, they did not have Nids, but they created a safe, clean, and orderly country. You go to Sweden, they do not have Nids, but they have created a safe, clean, and orderly country. Why do we need Nids? Why do we need a national ID like the one they're describing? Simply because the colonial masters of these two parties have said it's time. We want your country to be a part of this grand experiment, the same kind of experiment they ran during COVID, where they wanted to see how the lab rats would behave if you tried to mandate an injection, if you tell them to wear a mask, if you tell them to stay home and stay safe, if you tell them to surrender all of their rights to the government, how would they respond? And they have studied the lab rats and they want to go one step further. One rat they didn't count on existing in Jamaica was the UIC. And because of us, they were not able to inject the 80 to 90% of the population that they wanted to. Instead, they got away with 20%. We must not allow them to get away ever, ever again. And so tonight, I want to invite everyone that's watching this, please go to our website at uicjamaica.com and sign up today and say, I want to be a part of the movement that will protect my individual sovereignty and our collective independence as a nation. I want a Jamaica where the people live as free people, not as cyborgs. I want a Jamaica where the government understands the limit of their role and function and power. A Jamaica where every single Jamaican are free to enjoy their lives the way their God intended. That's what we're fighting for, and that's what you're fighting for when you join this movement. Of course, we're not a rich movement because we're dependent on the people. We're as rich as you make us. If we, the people, say we want to take control of our country and control our lives, it will be done. Just like the farmers did in the Netherlands. They rose up. They created their own party, the Farmers' Party, and they won the election and pushed out those that were trying to take away their farms. We can do the same, but we're doing it differently. We want to unite Jamaicans. We want those who are colored by to say enough of that, I'm a Jamaican first. We want those who are colored by orange to say enough of that, I'm Jamaican first. And we want all of you who are independent thinkers, who have withdrawn from the electoral system to say, no man, good governance is my business. There's no way I can be a good citizen and not participate in the electoral process. And that doesn't mean just voting because you have a vote. It means voting the way you need to vote to protect your own sovereignty and that of your fellow Jamaicans. And we can do it. We're ordinary Jamaicans. On the call here right now, all the people you're seeing on this Zoom platform with me, we have dedicated our lives to say, let us lead our fellow Jamaicans to recognize the importance of defending our individual rights and freedom. It's only when you protect the individual that you protect the collective. We do not believe in sacrificing any one of us. We believe in all of us sacrificing to protecting the rights of each of us. That's what we want. A Jamaica where every single boy, every single girl, every man, every woman is independently and individually free, a sovereign soul. The only God you have is the one that you decide on, not a man-made God. So whether you want to be a Christian, a Muslim, or even an atheist, that must be your choice, not the government, not any elite somewhere, not any global power. It must be yours. So in closing, my friends on the platform, you get 1 minute to give your closing thought before we sign off for tonight. Let's begin with Ms. Barrett, you go first.
I want to thank you, Mr. Patterson, and I want to thank you for your courage. I know at times it must be daunting, not having the kind of finance, the way the government, because in Freda you has kept you out of the media because him not wanted to reach the people and all of that. It take a whole heap of courage to do what you do. And thank you for this opportunity to be able to serve along with you and the other members of the team to to bring freedom and liberty to our people.
Thank you. You're welcome. Ms. Czekanowski?
Well, thank you so much, sir, for bringing this to our attention and the attention of the people. I really, really hope that those who tune in tonight, we thank you for tuning in, that you will share this recording with your family, with your friends, because this is very serious. We just have a little window of opportunity to get UIC into government so that we can continue to protect our rights, our freedom, and our liberty. Is this what we want, the other side? Absolutely not. The Creator made us to have freedom. We cannot allow people to bully us, to control us, and take over our lives. So thank you for bringing this to our attention, sir. And we will continue to spread the word about this and to spread the good news about the UIC.
Thank you very much, Ms. Czekanowski. Ms. Walker, your 1 minute, please.
I just want to reassure everyone that this is an attack on the world, and there are great and many revolutionary uprising across the planet. And believe it or not, these provocateurs are scared. I know that they have pushed their agenda back somehow because the world is waking up, people are wising up, and we're going to return to everyone what is rightfully theirs. And so be hopeful and understand that this is a worldwide battle, and there are great and many people across the earth that are rising up to the occasion. So the most important thing is that we have to remain strong. We have to be reminded to say no, and we have to always verify information before we accept anything that is put on us, because our government, our leaders are proven to be false prophets. They do not have our best interest, and they're in fact very dangerous.
Well said, Ms. Walker. Ms. Powell, you have 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Yes, my last minute will say that this is a very good discussion. I like the topic, eye-opening for many persons. And my last word is, who have an ears to hear, let them hear.
Amen. Well said, Ms. Powell. Mr. Neal, your 1 minute begins now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Patterson. I'd just like to emphasize to our viewers that there will always be a set of persons who are trying to take away control of the majority from the control of the individual. The people always believe that they should be the ones to run things. We had Hitler, and we back in the time of World War I, we have many players now. But it is we who give them the power. If we are silent, if we remain unresponsive and carefree, then it is we who sign away our power to those who want to control and take your power. Now, we can always bury our heads in the sand like the ostriches and pray. But for those of us who are of the Christian persuasion, the Bible does say, show me your faith by your works. So we can't just have faith and pray that God will save us. We must do the work that secures our own liberty. We must remember too that two of our national heroes were also preachers. They understood that it was not just enough to pray for freedom. They actually had to fight for it. So we can't just sit and do nothing and expect to be saved by God when we ourselves were made in God's image, who are the representation of God, will not do anything about it. So, the only way that exists in Jamaica, and for Jamaica to show an example to the world, for us to free ourselves through political action where the policies are made, is through the UIC. That's the only way that exists now. So I encourage all Jamaicans to take hold of your own right, to take hold of your right to own yourself and support the UIC to not just by word, not just by sharing the lives, which is very important, by the way. We appreciate it, but also to become involved in the work of the UIC, to get one cookful basket. So if you speak to one person and get them to understand what the UIC is about, that's a great win. Whether you can donate or not, if you cannot donate yourself, to help us get donors, because money may not be everything, but everything requires money. We require money to do the work of the UIC. So in any way that you can, I implore you to help all of us who mean ourselves good, to help all of us who have seen the system for what it is, to get the work done, because the few people on this panel can't do it without Jamaica's help. And we cannot count on JLP or PNP to do it. We have spoken about the minimum wage, for example, which is a way of maintaining the slavery. Can't go into that much tonight. That's not the topic, but we see where both leaders have been pushing the Nids. One, do it behind closed doors and then cuss in public, but really, two of them are in agreement with it. So we can count on the political parties that exist to do it. We must do it for ourselves, and the UIC is your tool, your platform to effect policies for all of us.
Well said. Thank you very much, Mr. Neil. And we're going to give the youngest member of the panel, our Deputy Treasurer, the last word tonight. And she's going to share with us for 1 minute or more to make up for lack of age. Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
It will just be a minute. I just want to thank everybody who, tuned into tonight's program. I hope we're all leaving here as well-informed Jamaicans, and that we feel encouraged to share this video with, persons in our contacts and so forth. We have heard, or we've been informed of the dangers of this system, and it's not just something we should allow to go over our heads. It's definitely something to think on, something to act on, and it's definitely something that we need to stand against if we truly believe in having the right to our privacy. So those are my few words.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. I want to remind all of us that as Jamaicans, here at home or abroad, we're not powerless. We are powerful people. Our heroes, our 5 national heroes, Nani, Sam Shaw, Bogle, Gordon, and Garvey, prove to us that we can influence the outcome of our country. If Paul Bogle didn't lead that march down Stony Gut, if Marcus Garvey didn't do what he did and formulated the UNIA, if George William Gordon had sat silently in the legislature and didn't speak up, if Nani had just run away into the woods and hide, we would not have the rich history that they've left us to show us the importance of fighting for what we believe in. We can fight and we can win. We can make Jamaica the freest nation in the world, that one country that stands out among all others as that country which would not lay down, fall asleep, put her head in the sand, or roll over and play dead. We are prepared to stand up and fight back. I'm inviting you to join hands with me and all of these wonderful people in the UIC. Let's join hands as one Jamaica, because we're stronger together. Have a good night until we meet again. Tomorrow at our members meeting, 7:30, all members are welcome, all donors are welcome, all supporters are welcome. You should have received an email already in your inbox. If not, reach out to us at 876-293-0812 and you will be added. Please go on the website now and join and sign up so that as a member, you'll get those email notifications and you can join us in our meetings. Our next meeting for members is tomorrow, the 23rd at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom. All subscribers on our website, you will receive that email in your inbox. So go now to the website, uicjamaica.com, and sign up The membership dues is only $10 US if you're in the international space. And if you're here in Jamaica, it's simply $250 a week. What is the price of freedom? $250 Jamaican a week, or $1,000 a month. That's the price to fight for your freedom. Thank you. Until tomorrow. God bless and Godspeed. One Jamaica.
One Jamaica. Stronger together.
One Jamaica.
Stronger
Stronger
together.
together.
Take care. All the best. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Night. Good night.
Good night.